The partnership between Lewis Hamilton and Scuderia Ferrari is about to begin. In a discipline where generational turnover is far greater than in the past, the most experienced drivers in the category are holding their ground. Last week marked an important milestone for Lewis Hamilton, who turned 40 in the very year he will wear red for the first time in his outstanding motorsport career. The British driver and Fernando Alonso are redefining what, until recently, were considered physiological limits to competing at the highest levels in the premier class of motorsport, providing examples of self-discipline for the new generation. This could be a factor inspired by these champions. For the British talent, this age milestone coincides with his new professional challenge, made difficult by several factors. Logistically, Lewis Hamilton has never raced for teams headquartered outside the United Kingdom. Being a very sharp individual, he immediately understood that his adaptation to a completely different environment requires his physical presence in Maranello and a grasp of the Italian language, even though English is effectively the institutional language of Formula One. For the 7-time F1 world champion, this represents a sort of new beginning. For this reason, it appears Ferrari has scheduled 4 days of testing using a testing of previous car program, although for now it is unclear whether it will be the F175 or the SF23, during which Lewis Hamilton will undergo a sort of apprenticeship. These important days will see the former Mercedes driver work on the track with the engineers who will support him throughout his adventure with the historic Maranello team. This initial phase could have been anticipated in December, during post-season tests in Abu Dhabi after the last Grand Prix of the previous campaign, but it wasn't possible due to the commercial constraints binding Lewis Hamilton to the German team. At Ferrari, they are aware that the performance of the English driver depends on the human relationships he builds with his engineers. Think of extroverted or overly talkative drivers. The engineer must know how to listen to them. Conversely, if the driver has an introverted character, it is necessary to empathize to extract as much information as possible, always making them feel comfortable. This chemistry can be built through a process of mutual understanding and consistent joint effort. In addition to the measures to be taken on the track, Lewis Hamilton will also have the opportunity to do significant work on the simulator, which will help him adapt to the technology available at Scuderia Ferrari compared to what he used at Mercedes last year. Through this virtual environment, the British driver will begin to understand whether the characteristics of the 677 project suit his driving style. Naturally, it will only be after the winter pre-season testing session at the Bahrain International Circuit in Sakhir that the similarity between the hypothetical context and reality can be verified. In the upcoming Formula One season, the last before the revolution regarding the new set of regulations, Lewis Hamilton will face numerous challenges. The Ferrari suit can be very heavy to wear, but the British champion has broad shoulders and will certainly manage the pressure that comes with it. From a potential standpoint, the 7-time world champion is in the ideal position to set new age-related records. In modern Formula One, only Nigel Mansell has managed to win a Grand Prix after the age of 31 years ago in the controversial Australian Grand Prix, made famous by the collision that eliminated Michael Schumacher and Damon Hill, the two rivals for the world title. Not to mention the possible achievement of an 8th world title. A truly interesting topic that brings us back to the past glory of the top category, when the cars were very different from today's. The only drivers over 40 to manage this feat were Juan Manuel Fangio, Giuseppe Farina, and Jack Brabham. In the case of the Anglo-Caribbean driver, we are talking about a physically intact driver, still capable of winning races, as demonstrated in the last campaign. Moreover, he is highly motivated to accomplish the most difficult feat of his extraordinary career, to become champion once again, but this time with the Maranello team. Ferrari team principal Frederic Vasseur has recently pointed out Lewis Hamilton's ability to push on small details will be an asset to the Scuderia, which has been evident since his junior racing days. The French manager added that he could perfectly remember how the now 7-time world champion brought this to the table when they worked together at the Art Grand Prix. With the 2025 Formula One season predicted to be tight between multiple teams at the front of the field, the Ferrari team principal explained how the time difference at the end of 2024 came down to an average of hundredths of a second between the top teams. As Lewis Hamilton arrives at Ferrari on a multi-year deal this season, he will look to bring the Scuderia back to the top of the championship for the first time since they won the 2008 Constructors' title. A part of that will be adding Lewis Hamilton as a good push forward, bringing with him title-winning experience, alongside experience of seeing things a bit differently from having worked elsewhere. But having worked with him as a junior driver, Frederic Vasseur explained he has been pushing on small details for a long time, which will be beneficial to Ferrari moving forward. When asked if Lewis Hamilton would be able to help Ferrari's mindset in 2025, Frederic Vasseur responded to media that he believed it was always important to have people from other teams with different cultures. The former Alfa Romeo boss clarified that it was not a matter of being against Italians or English people, but rather that in the business, the transfer of know-how was crucial. The Frenchman added that Ferrari, being somewhat isolated, would benefit from having Lewis Hamilton on board, and it would provide a good push for the Maranello team. Frederic Vasseur stated that he believed the British driver would provide a good push, as he would bring a different perspective. He was convinced that Lewis Hamilton would come with his vast experience, having spent 18 years in F1 and won a couple of titles. Fred Vasseur emphasized that it was important to maintain a mindset focused on improving everywhere and not to expect performance to come solely from others within the team. The Ferrari team principal also noted that performance was not just about aerodynamics or other technical aspects, but came from everyone involved, which was crucial. Frederic Vasseur recalled Lewis Hamilton's approach in 2005 to 2006, where he was already focused on pushing for small details. He pointed out that the gap between McLaren and Ferrari in qualifying was often just a few hundredths of a second, highlighting the level of precision required at this stage. The French manager further noted that the differences between teams like Red Bull and Mercedes were also driven by details across numerous aspects of the car. Frederic Vasseur concluded by saying that such a mindset, where every thousandth of a second in every area is pursued, was essential, and he believed that Lewis Hamilton would be a valuable asset in fostering this approach. Lewis Hamilton has seen and experienced a lot during his long career in Formula One. However, the level of passion the Italian Ferrari fans, the Tifosi are, the seven-time world champion is yet to experience. With the Brit officially employed by the iconic team since January 1st, that is about to change rapidly, and Hamilton will naturally notice how high the pressure is at Ferrari. In any case, team boss Frederic Vasseur is not worried about whether Lewis Hamilton can handle it. The Tifosi hope Lewis Hamilton gives Ferrari its first world title since 2008. Realistic? That will surely become clear on the track in the coming weeks, but Italian supporters are already dreaming of that moment. The Ferrari team principal explained that it was important to manage the atmosphere around the team. He mentioned that while pressure might not be the right word, the passion of the Tifosi and the media was completely different. Because of his extensive experience in the sport, Frederic Vasseur is therefore anything but worried that Hamilton will not start the season well enough prepared, even if the number of times he can test in a Ferrari F1 car is limited.